Bobby Kutstra,
Yes.
love of my life. Are you nervous about the reveal of your biological age?
Yeah, I think I am a little bit nervous.
What scares me about yours is you are very competitive, and I think you won't like it if it's high. It's time to reveal the results of your biological age. Are you ready?
Yes.
Oh,
What?
hello, I'm Katherine Ryan, and this is a very special episode of What's My Age Again? Today, we are keeping it in the family. This is the podcast that asks our guests, how old are you? How old is your body? And what do you do to stay young, though less aggressively? Today, we are joined by my current husband, Bobby Kutstra. He's 42, but how old is he on the inside? He, like all of our guests, has given us his blood. He's filled in his lifestyle questionnaire. We collected some semen, and I could tell you, if he's been honest on the questionnaire, he's not got the best lifestyle. Will being married to me keep him young, or does being Mr. Ryan take its toll? He doesn't do much other than play golf. He should be okay. As always, Dr. Nicola Conlon is with us to interpret Bobby's results. Bobby Kutstra.
Yes.
What an unlikely guest on What's My Age Again?
I know. It's a pleasure to be here, though.
Are you nervous about the reveal of your biological age?
Yeah, I think I am a little bit nervous. I've led a pretty, healthy lifestyle in many ways, and in other ways, obviously not.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that completely shakes out, whether one outweighs the other. And in that little battle I've been waging on myself.
Well, I do agree with you in that people are different. Different diets and different lifestyles will work better for some and not others. And I can't really put myself on a pedestal because I have still the highest biological age of any guest on the podcast.
By how far?
I was 6 years biologically older than Katie Price.
Okay.
The lovely Dame Sheila Hancock was chronologically 92, but her biological age was much, much, much younger than that.
Well,
So I'm doing badly.
Well, maybe you can improve on that after you've kind of learned some tips and maybe some supplements, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to find out because I don't know what it would be. I wouldn't be surprised kind of one way or the other. I think what you're saying about different things work well for different people. I think red meat does really well for me. Other people it does not. Now this is just my own personal beliefs. Am I just kind of leading myself on to think that so I can enjoy the red meat, or if it actually does work? I'm not too sure.
Well, what's annoying about you is you look good. You're very physically fit. There are a lot of fat husbands out there.
Yes, there are.
And you have a lot of energy for the small children.
Well, I feel fat.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel like I always want to be in a little bit better shape. That was a nice crack. And I don't mean,
77.
77. What I think is I'm 2 weeks away from being shredded. If I were to have 2 weeks of a really good diet, cut out all the drinking, really got to the gym every day, I think I'm 2 weeks away from being in really good shape. So I'm trying to always balance, have that 2 weeks in my, I'm all right, if I did that for 2 weeks, then I'd be ripped. So I'm in decent shape, but I could always be better.
And you're a former athlete.
Yes.
I hate to say former because...
Well, yeah, I'm still performing, but it's not quite the same, ferocity.
You no longer get paid to play American football.
No.
Though every once in a while you do win a bit of money in golf.
Yeah.
So in that way, it sort of makes you a professional.
Yeah, but that's more like gambling.
No, you win.
You win but it's a little bit of gambling. If I play better than you, I'll win a little bit of petty cash from my friends. But it's not really paid, I wouldn't say.
I think you've won some prize money from the club.
I've won some prize money, 30 pounds.
That's
a free sleeve of golf balls,
I guess you could start by talking to me about college athletics and what the drinking, drugging, partying, exercise ritual was at that time, because you were living two lives.
Well, I wasn't doing too badly, but I'll dive into it. I started training in high school when I was 17, 16, 17. And I started taking creatine and protein and glutamine and all these things. And my mom thought I was actually on steroids.
Yeah.
Because we were really good at football, our team. We won everything, never lost. And I started to get ripped and I grew and I was bigger. So I continued on that path for maybe at least 5 or 6 years through university.
But at that time,
yes,
you were also juggling a party lifestyle.
But not too bad because I was only
I was literally there.
Well, in high school, yeah, okay. But in university, I wasn't allowed.
Did you get injured?
I was injured quite often, especially in a certain point in my life. I had 3 knee surgeries. So
talk to me about the injuries, because that will potentially show up on the biological age test.
It may or may not. Yeah, I hurt my knee going into university, so I totally blew it out. And then I had to take the first year off. So I was on crutches for 3 months. That was more painful, like just being on the team, but not being on the team. So like stress
Mentally.
mentally, I was like, you're not really there. You can't really participate. So you don't really feel involved, especially coming in as a rookie. So that was a bit stressful. And then obviously you're on some, Percocets. Yeah, which was fun. We'd have like a Percocet and a couple drinks. And
Percocet Tuesdays.
it was like, it was still Percocet. We just had a Percocet on the Wednesday sometimes because I had all these Percocets for like 2 years from all my surgeries.
Great. Make you a very popular rookie.
Yeah, that's how I kind of then dabbled in some magic mushrooms to become more popular. But anyways, the injuries were pretty bad for 2 years, and then I was healthy for like 3 solid years until I went overseas.
Okay.
And I remained healthy since then, by the way.
And do you think that that impacts your body image now? Going back to my original question about athletes, because you hear from women sometimes that they're like, oh, especially from our generation, I don't want to be fat. The body positivity's changed a little bit. But I don't know if it's because you had sisters or because you're an athlete. You seem very rare to me in that you do care about the aesthetics of like
Yeah, I think it's like
the body.
we had the beach body generation or whatever you want to call it. Like all of our guys, and not all of them, but like most of my friends were all fit. We all worked out. We want to have the beach biceps.
None of them are now.
Well, some are, but not many. They kind of fluctuate. Where I kind of maintain. I don't know. It feels good to me.
Yeah.
Psychologically to like be in decent shape.
Okay.
If I were to go too far one way, I would feel like pretty terrible about myself because it's not too hard to maintain, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And so to maintain that now, what do you do?
Well, I work out probably 2 or 3 times a week, and I golf probably 2 or 3 times a week. I have lots of like protein shakes and fat burners and steak. But then I am also a victim of like getting fast food with Violet, and obviously drinking and a bit of smoking here and there. So I do well in many ways, and then I kind of slip up in others.
But I mean, it works for you. This is what I mean when we all have a different kind of system. Red meat and exercise seems to work for you.
Yeah.
You can smoke, 7 cigarettes a day?
Yeah, probably 7 a day.
If I did that, I would be in the hospital.
Yeah.
And you could see that in my...
Oh, yeah. You're not meant for smoking.
No.
You're not there.
I just don't have the
You're
constitution.
not cool enough.
Not
I think
cool
that's
enough.
what it is.
You drink probably every day.
Yeah, I'll probably have a drink every day.
But you're not drunk every day,
No.
but you drink constantly, like a little bit, but you don't get hungover.
Don't get hungover unless like we'll have some events where if there's like bubbles, like champagne, or like red wine, those kind of things. But like if I stick to like some gin and white wine and beer, you're in the clear.
But you're interesting because then you drink loads of water.
I do.
You're outside a lot. You're walking a lot. So you live this life that you kind of don't have any plants. You don't have any fruit, but you don't have any sugar, sweets. You hate chocolate.
Yeah.
So you're all about like meat,
water,
nicotine, water, gin.
And like,
workouts.
And supplements as well. Like I do take them.
Talk me through the supplements.
I mean, it's not a ton, but I take like collagen and vitamin C powder, and then the fat burners I mentioned, and then the protein shakes. And I do actually have berries in those shakes.
Oh, yeah.
So I do have like raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries.
That is true.
So I do have those.
Those are the 3
but
plants.
They have a bit of sugar in those.
But it's fine. They have antioxidants, I think.
They do.
Okay. So like physically, that is what you're doing.
But I've kind of always done that. It's like I treat my body well, and then just so I can abuse it a little bit, so it's kind of a balance.
You come from a very athletic family?
I have some athletes in the family, but not very.
I think they would be so offended to hear you say that.
They would be. They think they're like more athletic than they are.
Yeah.
Because they are kind of they're decent, but like I was the golden child.
You were. You're the only one who went to university. You're
Yeah.
the only one who played sports professionally. But I would say for most households and British households, you grew up in a family that had like good genes, that lots of men on your dad's side playing sports. Your sisters are very active anyway. Like everybody.
They're very active, yeah. But it kind of skipped. Like my dad wasn't that athletic, but my grandfather was on my mom's side. And I think that's where I get most of my skills from.
But how many brothers did your dad have?
He had 3 brothers, and all of them, including my dad, are dead except for one remaining, the oldest one. So 3 of the 4 are dead at a fairly young age.
Yeah. I think they were probably active though together. Like,
Not
you can't
like
have four
athletically. No,
boys.
they were like kind of like bad boys. Like they
Oh.
were never like doing sports. Those guys.
Never.
No.
Your dad looked like he played sports.
Yeah, well, it's because he died when he was 33.
That's, okay. So then we get straight into the trauma. So one thing that I always thought was very alluring about you when we were young is you had this energy of someone who had been through something. You had a more mature, I think, energy. And, you know, little did I know I probably had a rescue syndrome and I was just misreading trauma.
It's possible.
Yeah. But you had lost your dad at a really young age,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't really remember your childhood. And I think that is true with a lot of trauma that you hear about. People just block out that time. So what do you remember about your dad? What can you tell me about him? How did he pass? And like, how much do you know about that whole time?
Well, as you mentioned, I've realized, repressed a lot of memories of him. So he passed away when I was 10. He got sick when I was 8. So I do remember the years when he was sick, like when I was 9 and 10, and he was, you know, not doing so well. But kind of the good years when we would have had a good relationship is the part that I don't really remember, which is kind of sad. And then after he passed, I kind of, like you said, had to kind of pick up, move on. And it did, I think, put me in a spot where I had been through something. So the small stuff didn't really seem to affect me too much. Like I wouldn't worry about certain things that, you know, my peers would worry about and stress about. Like I'm like, I have bigger problems. And I got through that. So I'm not going to worry about this little stuff. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to like be confident and just move forward. And that kind of losing him, not like it was a blessing, but it did like propel me into some, I don't know, psychological state where I was more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Resilient,
yeah.
and motivated. I've heard you describe this psychological state in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is.
Well, are you trying to wear me down?
No.
Because I'm feeling good.
No, I like that you have been focused and resilient. I think those are good qualities. But when I think about our son and when I think about a little boy being told at 9 years old, you're going to be the head of the household.
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes looking back, and I wasn't there for those years, but I don't know if you were given space to like be a little boy whose dad was dying. And it's sometimes, I think that's why we can't unlock some of these things about your past because.
Well, it's weird because he's dying for so long. So it's like your dad is like, first, I got cancer. We're going to beat it. It was the first family meeting. And I was like, all right, we'll beat it. And then it was like, we're not going to beat it. So then it was like a year of just like, when's it going to be over with? Like, when's he actually going to die? So by the time he actually did, I just kind of put my energy into, you know, sport or my friends. And like, it was kind of moved on from that because it'd been 2 years of like kind of dealing with that like upcoming grief, I guess. I'm not sure. But.
And who talked to you about your dad being sick? The whole family, or did you have conversations with your dad?
The whole family, I think. And then I slept over at my friends. I think they knew they were going to die. He was going to die. So that night, they're like, all of us slept out of the house and he passed. And my uncle picked me up the next morning, which I'm like, okay, he's dead. We get to the house and then got the news. But yeah, it was kind of not a relief, but you know, he's in a better place kind of thing. And that is true.
So that was the attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is tough to have this looming finality of like, it's going to happen. I don't know how a kid would really deal with that because time, even for our children, time is a weird concept. And he was where when he was near the end?
In my living room.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a drag for that family to see like someone dying in the living room for so long.
Do you have memories of like when you were coming in from school or sports or going out? Would you like get into his bed and chat to him? Did you guys watch TV?
Yeah, I don't really remember.
You don't remember any of that?
No.
Yeah, it was just like this. I think, not as a professional, but as your wife and knowing you from shortly after that time, I think you would build up a resiliency that would propel you in terms of, you know, professionally and in sports and whatever you wanted to do in your life. But also that's because your brain's job is to protect you and you would close
that's quite possible.
doors.
I just put my energy into something I was good at and
Did losing your dad really young make you think like you were going to die?
No, not really actually. The weirdest one was when I turned 33 myself because I'll like have the odd cry every few years probably thinking about him. And when I turned 33, I was like, holy shit. I'm
Yeah.
so young. And he had 4 children. So when I called it my Jesus Christ year, because, Jesus passed away. So that was a strange year.
And you were religious growing up.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I was forced to be.
Religious enough to know what age Jesus was when he died.
Well, I think most people know that. Maybe
I don't think most people know that.
No. Most Christians probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very young. And then your mom was what was she in her 20s, presumably, as a young single mom of
She
4
would have
kids?
been, I think, 30. He was a few years older, yeah. So 30 with 4 young ones. My twin sisters were 12, I was 10, and the younger one, I was 8.
And she had to survive.
Oh, she did, yes.
And so she got a new husband who maybe wasn't your favorite.
She had some boyfriends before.
Nice.
Yeah, my hockey coach.
Yes.
That was cool. I didn't get more ice time either, which was the sad. Like you think if she's doing that with a hockey coach,
gotta treat you
I'd
the
get some
same.
like benefits, but no, I think ended sour. I never asked her about it, but then stepfather for maybe 3 years, 4 years, maybe 5, maybe 6. I don't really know. As soon as I turned 18, I was out of the house,
Yeah.
on to university, and he was never to be seen again for me.
I always knew you as someone who was out of the house.
I was always out of the house.
So I have never been inside your childhood home.
No, that was off limits.
You didn't really have the best relationship with your stepdad from what I remember, which is a shame when you've lost your dad. What you would hope is that someone else would swoop in and be really understanding with that and really caring.
Well, every boy I think needs that. And I had like uncles and I had coaches. So I kind of sought them out of the house.
Yeah.
Any type of role model or whatever you want to call it. I had some nice coaches and uncles. Yeah.
And on previous episodes of What's My Age Again, Nicola has spoken about aging related to loneliness and about how when people get elderly and sometimes they have lost their spouse or they feel really isolated, that can be really bad for their biological age. And I know that male friendships became really important too, especially being always part of a team.
Yeah.
Like there's a real fraternity.
Yeah, there's like a brotherhood because I didn't have any brothers either. So I lived with all women at one point for, I don't know, a bunch of years. So like finding other guys that I played sports with and just hanging out with them, practicing, whatever, doing whatever we do as teenage boys. I did the most of anyone.
And now you have no friends.
Now I have no friends,
because you moved to England.
Yeah, they're all far away now.
And how do you feel about that?
It's strange at times. I mean, as you get older, I think your friendship groups always get smaller for the most part.
Yeah.
I do have some like nice friends here, but they're not like close friends. All my close friends are back home, and I see them a bit. I mean, it's just a weird thing to like move away from everyone. Not really family, but friends. Just to have the odd night where you go out or do something like random. I don't really have that option.
It has to be really orchestrated if we're going to see our friends.
And now it's like so much pressure because when I do see them, if we're traveling there or they're coming here, then it's like, I don't know, it can be a bit strange. Fun, but exhausting.
We do stuff. We host or we are hosted or we get a big cottage or we'll have a big party or we'll go to a red carpet.
It's
or
never chill.
Yeah.
Like a nice chill, relax, like dinner party kind of a thing or whatever it may be.
So you and I reconnected in January 2019 in Canada. We were married in September 2019.
Yes.
And then lockdown happened shortly thereafter. So not only did you make the choice to come to the UK and move away from the life that you knew and the friends that you had, but then there was lockdown. So we became even more isolated. And straight out of lockdown, we became some type of trad ballerina fucking farms family. And we've just had kids consistently.
I think the lockdown for like our relationship at the time was quite good because everything did kind of happen quickly. So we had that year or however long it was on and off. I'm not even quite sure. That's something I've repressed as well. But I do remember you and I like really like connecting and like thinking this is the right thing to do. And then that's when we started having babies.
Well, we connected right away. I
know, but the lockdown really forced us to like be face to face, like,
I think I've blocked out that time too.
I know.
And
I don't even know if it was fun. It seemed like it was fun a lot of the time, but you were mentioning the other day that like we were kind of sad, but we were for other reasons, I suppose.
Well, and this is getting back to the Alistair Campbell chat.
Oh, yeah.
Is that it was difficult, I think, for you as someone with critical thought to accept some of the government sanctions and loss of bodily autonomy. And you started thinking about the bigger picture of like transfer of wealth and why is this happening?
Yeah, that's how I usually think.
Do you want to share like any
version?
version?
I can try and touch on this. So like when in like 2012. So I'll say I'm a libertarian. I'm not right wing.
No.
I'm not left wing. I'm a libertarian. And my idol was Ron Paul. Anyways, in 2012, he was in the presidential election in the States and just kind of got ignored by the media and lost. And then at that point, I just gave up on like politics as a whole until COVID happened. I'm like, what is going on here? From the get-go, you have to admit, I'm like, this is not right. Something's not right. Forced vaccinations, where did this disease come from? I was never ever buying the story, and I knew something weird was happening or thought something weird was happening.
Yeah.
And like I have nieces that were like not allowed to play high school sports the last 2 years, and like they would have gone to university, but otherwise they lost interest by then because they couldn't do the activities for 2 years. So it really affected a lot of people in many different ways. And like I think teenage girls and boys at that time kind of lost out on some very important years and like relationships.
And I agree with you that it was weird. And I think it's easy for people to be extremist and to go, oh, well, he's a right-wing Trump supporter. And sometimes I think the most extreme position is funniest in comedy, so I lean into that.
Sure.
But you're libertarian, you're a lot more just
I don't like Trump.
critical.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't like Trump, but you also don't like
I don't like
Biden.
politics as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, and Biden, I actually do like. It's just funny that he was like a president.
Yeah.
That's like Weekend at Bernie's president, I call him.
Yeah.
Because he's not even there. He can't even talk. He can't even do a sentence. Yet he's like controlling like the biggest country in the world. It's like, how does that make any sense?
And the moon landing?
Moon landing, I do think did not happen. Yeah, that's true. I know you bring that up all the time, and it's. I don't think it happened. I'm sorry. I just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
Seems off.
It's a bit of fun for people when I talk about this.
And it's fun for me too, like because it's like but in my soul, I don't think any man has stepped on that moon.
Nope.
Nope.
And I like that you're your authentic self. When you moved here originally in 2019, you were sort of peer pressured to wear more tapered trousers than what you wear today.
Yeah, I rejected British culture.
Yeah.
Because when I came, the pants were tighter than they are now. Like you could see like calves, and I'm like, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And my calves are not nice.
They are.
Well, but they're not like the British like thick like calves on what do they call them, hench?
Like rugby calves?
I don't know what they are, but those pants were like you can see they're like, and then the calf like also pops out.
Right.
I was like, no.
No, you don't want that.
No, I want to have baggy trousers.
You look cool. And I think this bodes well for biological age. People are attracted to you, both the heteronormative and the queer community. They flood my DMs constantly.
All right.
You say that you don't sweat the small stuff because of understanding perspective,
Yeah.
something big happening, like losing your dad really young. But I think I underestimated how stressed you were when we had our first child together, Fred.
Yeah, that was something I didn't expect. Fred was very stressful, even like before the birth and then the birth, the stress. I was never like anxious before. I'm not even that anxious now, but I was like so concerned with Fred and him staying alive and like sleep loss and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I was not ready for it. And yeah, it caused me some newfound like, ugh, what's going on here?
Yeah. So paint me a picture of like what our lives looked like when Fred was newborn, what your anxieties were. I think looking back on it, neither one of us really identified. I think you did have quite high anxiety that entire time.
Yeah, I was like deeply concerned. Well, we had Fred, and then right away you got COVID. I got COVID. Fred got COVID. You were working a lot at the time. You had just done some show, and then you went on tour. So I had Fred a lot by myself in the nighttime, and he had reflux. He had eczema. Like he was throwing up constantly in the night. So I was just literally worried that he was going to die. Not die, but like I just want to keep this boy alive. So I'm doing everything I can. I didn't want to go to sleep because if I fall asleep, maybe he's going to choke on his puke. And so like I just wasn't sleeping. I was worried. And then like I'd have dreams or nightmares really about like him falling off a horse or falling down the stairs and all these like crazy scenarios.
You can have a newborn on a horse. Yeah.
I know, but he fell off a horse.
I know.
And like smacked his head. Like some vivid, like really traumatic like dreams.
Did you have any coping mechanisms for that stress? What did you just kind of swallowed it like everything else?
Yeah, I just like one day at a time, well, we'll get through tonight and then there's the next day.
Yeah.
And then, you'll be around or I'll go golfing or have a workout or do something to like get my mind off and then come in kind of re-energized was my plan, yeah.
I think we're less stressed now.
Definitely.
Our fourth is on the way, but I think we are re-entering a period of sleeplessness and possibly stress once again.
That's for sure. But I think I'm more equipped. Like I've done some soul searching.
Yeah.
And like, all right, maybe I'm could have done things a bit better and managed it different ways. And
Fred was a real wild card.
yeah, I wasn't ready.
No. I think newborns too. I feel guilty about that. I think our relationship is in many ways very traditional, even though like I work a lot and you stay home with the kids a lot. We share a lot of that now, but I mean, the design is not traditional. But I kind of feel badly that I do think a mother should be with her newborn child.
Well, you were.
I was, but I don't think I'll leave you alone with this one almost at all. I think you can take the older ones and do sports.
That's fine. Well, I think that should be the plan.
Yeah.
You sleep with the baby, I'll sleep with the older ones.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
And I don't know why I feel like I think that is quite traditional to feel that way. And there are a lot of women who would not appreciate, and a lot of like gay husbands who would be like, what, you need a mom around to look after a newborn? But certainly my takeaway is, in our dynamic.
Yeah, when things are going smoothly, like with Fred, no problem. But as soon as like he's got like a little fever or he's coughing or he's being sick, then I'm like a bit shaky.
One thing
because
I
would just want to take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
I don't want to be responsible for something bad happening, you know?
Oh yeah, I've stopped you taking him to the hospital at least once.
What happened?
When he got peanut butter stuck to the roof of his mouth and you thought he was dying.
Well, he couldn't breathe.
He could. He was just going, because he's such
I was concerned.
I know. But luckily I know about like
Peanut butter.
I know about vital signs. I said, that's not a kid who's dying. He just has peanut butter stuck to the roof of his mouth. He's being a bitch about it.
I was concerned.
You were very concerned, but we saved some NHS money that day.
That's good.
You and I differ with regards to what we think the children should eat.
We don't differ. I just want their tummies to be full.
Right.
So I kind of do whatever I can to get them full. But
think
you go ahead. What do you think?
I think in the last year we've had actual fallouts over this and almost nothing else.
It's been a hot button.
I think we have a fundamental disagreement about the existence and importance of the microbiome.
The microbiome.
I think that it's in the children's interest to eat a variety of plants. I know they don't want to.
Of course, I agree with you on that.
I think it's important to make sure they get lots of different fiber. I'm concerned
I agree
that if you feed our 2-year-old daughter salami, that it's carcinogenic and it will end up giving her a disease.
Well, I don't want that.
I know you don't want that. And that's...
But you give her like cakes and sweets all day long. Like you give her sweets for breakfast. Like before I feed her breakfast.
I don't give her sweets for breakfast.
Sometimes because I'm like, how did I get the sweet?
If she sees a sweet and she wants it, she does bully me sometimes. I'll give it to her. But the difference
you're ruining
is...
her tummy for breakfast, in my opinion, because then she's not going to eat.
But what's she going to eat for breakfast? Bacon.
Who knows? She'll eat eggs at one, but she used to eat berries. Like, who knows? I give her things that like are half decent that make her happy, because when she's not eating, she's not happy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make sure that she's happy.
I just sometimes wish that if we didn't have processed, like sugary yogurts in the house, and if we didn't have processed meat in the house, and if we didn't have something like those packed lunches with the deli meats and
Lunchables that...
but we can't, I might get
Lunchables
sponsorship from Lunchables and then I'll do a complete 180. So
I think Lunchables is a great product. But I don't give her that. Like,
I know.
There's like emergency.
I just think if you gave me 2 weeks to starve her out, she might eat an apple.
Well, you're
know
welcome to do so.
But this is why I don't have a leg to stand on, because I'm absolutely sure that my biological age is older than yours. So all the things that I'm doing to try to introduce, I take supplements, I don't drink very much, I don't smoke, I don't do all these things, but like I have inflammation and I'm not well. So maybe Fenna Grace should just be eating like chorizo all day.
But you're kind of similar to me. Like you'll eat quite healthy and take your supplements, but then what you do is you get stuck on like one item for like two, like you're hyper focused on this one soup, or it'll be gyoza, and then like for 2 weeks that's all you'll eat, and then you won't see it again for a year.
Yeah.
So is that good?
No.
Because you have no like, variety. You'll just do the same thing for like 2 weeks and not switch it up.
Well, we'll find out, because if your biological age comes back really, really young, then maybe I just need to be eating red meat and gin.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If it works for you.
But it won't work for everyone. Like some people, I think, like I said, it does better with whatever their biology is.
Yeah.
So
Really quickly, I want to talk to you about the burglary because I have told this story before. I think it is very traumatic. I know that you couldn't sleep for about a week. When we were younger, you told me you would be preoccupied about killers and murder. I think you have higher anxiety than you know. And then all of that came to fruition on one fateful evening in our house when you turned out to be right for all your anxieties. So what were you scared of when you were young, and then what happened?
Sure. When I was young, I was really concerned with many things, actually. Tornadoes, the Gulf War was happening. Also, someone was killed like around the corner from me, like 400 meters away. And I thought it was just a random killing. So I thought someone just randomly went in someone's house, killed this lady. It was like an unsolved murder. So I remember laying awake at night, like, all right, if someone comes in my window, and I was wondering, like, do they come like every other house, every fifth house? Like, when do these murderers come? And like, do they go by the address number? Like, what's the psychology with them picking the murderer?
And you'd think about this at night or just in the day with your crayons?
Just at nighttime usually,
Yeah.
right, when I'm trying to fall asleep. So I'd have a bat by my window. I'd have a whole system. I'd roll to the bed, get the bat, knock the guy, and then go from there.
So you're already thinking
Yeah,
about what you would do in a...
If someone came through my window.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had hockey sticks as well. So there's like weapons right next to me.
Great childhood.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we were home in our new house.
Yes.
Right before lockdown. You go upstairs randomly to change your shirt during dinner, and who emerges from the master bedroom?
Yeah, it was so strange. So eerie because it was just me and you. We were making like pasta, having some red wine, spilled some pasta sauce on my shirt. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go change my shirt because I like having a white shirt on almost always. So I go upstairs into my room and I see like cufflinks out on the bed and like some weird items that I've never even taken out of the drawer ever just sat on my bed. So I froze. I'm like, what? Are you looking for I thought, why is Catherine looking for cufflinks? And I was just kind of like, all right. So I grab a shirt, walk out of the room, and like from you to me away, I come face to face with this masked man. I'm just like, my first words were, what the fuck? And I took after him. And so I chased him out the window and kind of chased him where he had come in, which is the second floor. He had your laptop in his arms, I saw. So I chased him out the window. We had this like kind of landing. And he jumped down, went to the neighbor's garden beside. So I saw where he went. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go at the front. So I ran out the front door, down the stairs, and took off to the direction he went, and kind of just like lying or like not crawling, but like stationary in these bushes.
So you were lying in wait.
So I was just lying and waiting, but I was just kind of creeping around, and then I heard some like bushes rumbling in a fence. So I saw the fence, and I tucked down behind these bushes, and he jumped over, and I just tackled him, knocked the laptop out, and then we got into a fight, which lasted seemed like a long time, but it was probably like a minute long, and then he like went to pull up his waistband. I don't know if there was a knife or not. And that's when I kind of backed off the fight because I had like tackled him.
Well, he was saying, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, he was saying that. I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yeah.
But we do this thing in Canada, which is like hockey fighting, where you jersey them. So you pull their shirt over. So I had done that, pulled him down and like pushed him. And I was just kind of, wondering what am I going to do next? But then he kind of pulled up his waistband.
I didn't realize you jerseyed him.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I've had a lot of practice. So I used my hockey fighting techniques and just my like athleticism to like chase him down. Finally got in the fight, but then the knife kind of came out, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then we end up on the street, and randomly a cop is like driving on. I'm like pointing at the guy. I'm like, this guy. So the cop chases after him in the car down this little laneway, and I gave up my pursuit, and I should have never done that.
I'm glad you did that. Because
the cops got out, and he was, I love the police, but he was a bit hefty, kind of lost him, and he got away. Yeah. But I got some items back, a Gucci bag and a laptop. And yeah, that's the burglar story.
And your life. Like,
my life, yeah.
I like that the takeaway is still, I should not have handed the armed robber over to the police.
Well, he did get other items. He got my like championship football ring, and he would have taken some like shoes. There was a few things kind of missing.
Yeah.
That he had gotten away with. So I felt bad that he'd gotten away.
Some jewelry and cash.
Yeah.
But you weren't stabbed.
I was not stabbed, but I had some like scrapes and bumps and bruises, and then some sleepless nights. Like I couldn't sleep that night. Obviously, my adrenaline was like through the roof.
Yeah.
It was very exciting. story.
So you have had a few very traumatic experiences, I
Yeah.
think, like
Yeah.
scary experiences with like loss and experiences with anxiety. And you literally fought an armed man who was in our home and then you couldn't sleep. You've lost a
Yeah.
lot of sleep having the kids.
Yeah.
Do you think overall marriage has been good for you?
Of
Maybe
course.
not.
Yeah. I mean, for my biological age, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Because just I think it's important to have someone to like, speak with, whether it's about your day to day or whatever. We have like a good
Yeah.
partnership. You're like my best friend.
Yeah.
We have a laugh. Yeah, I would say certainly. I think having a partner would improve your biological age almost.
But it does come with burglars and
Well, that was a
babies,
fluke. Babies, yeah, whatever. I think
arguments about bacon.
babies would have to. I don't know about these things. It depends on person to person whether it like helps you or hurts you.
As
how
an
you
older
manage it.
parent, do you think the kids keep you young or do you find them aging?
Yeah, they keep me young, but my hair is going grayer, so I don't know.
Sexy on a man, though.
Yeah.
There's just a few more questions on here that I have to ask. How many sexual partners have you had?
What does that have to do with anything?
It's just on the cards.
Let me see.
This bit.
Okay. Yeah, a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could be with your current partner in your ex's body, but with your current partner's personality, would that be your preference? Or would you rather your current partner's body and your ex's personality?
I don't even know what you're saying.
Would you rather your current partner's personality in your ex's body or your ex's personality in your current partner's body?
None of the above.
The
Nice
above.
try.
Single.
Yeah, I'd rather be single than answer that question.
Okay. All right. Who is the fattest person that you've ever had sex with?
You. Like last week.
Okay. All right.
Like in your current state. Yeah.
You were married before.
Yeah.
Didn't have any kids with that one.
No.
Was that divorce stressful?
I think divorce is always going to be a bit stressful for most people. So yeah, it was, but I think ultimately it was the best thing at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wonder if I don't know your result. If it comes back high, why do you think that will be? Do you think you might have low level inflammation from PTSD or stress or unresolved traumatic experiences?
It could be any of those things.
Or bacon or
It
smoking.
could be children, smoking, drinking, childhood trauma.
Yep.
I think it's a lot of options, really.
Do you think the athleticism will be enough to keep that biological age low? Do you think you are on the
hope so.
inside, the hunk that you
I can
appear
still
to be
like
on the
jump
outside?
a tall fence. There's some certain things I can do that most people my age can't do.
What feats of strength are you most proud of? Handstands?
Handstands. I can walk around on my hands. I can like climb a house like a burglar would.
Yep.
You've seen me do that. Yeah, I can do a lot of like cool things. I can do like front handsprings still.
Oh, yeah.
I can drive the golf ball really far compared to my peers.
Yep.
I can run really fast compared to my peers. So there's some certain things, yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that gives me a good picture of where your biological age might have been impacted. I'm totally,
Okay.
I don't know. Like we've been through your work and your athletics and your lifestyle and your family and your stress.
All right.
What's your guess before we open the envelope?
I'm a bit nervous. I don't want to like disappoint myself, but I would say like 37.
37. 40 years younger than me.
Well, I guess.
This will be the final reveal on like whether marriage impacts men or women
I'm scared.
the hardest. I'm scared too, actually, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I don't care that much about mine because I'm retesting mine this series.
Yeah, I'll retest mine if it doesn't go well. Don't worry.
But what scares me about yours is you are very competitive, and I think you
Yeah.
won't like it if it's high. But the good news is we're going to bring out Dr. Nicola Conlon, and if it is high, there are things you can do to change it.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Namely, be more subservient to your wife.
Mm.
Very good cartoon swallow. Abakustra,
Yes.
libertarian, love of my life. We are now joined by Dr. Nicola Conlon, and it's time to reveal the results of your biological age. Are you ready?
Yes.
Won't open. Oh, your result is 60.
What?
I know, we're so bad.
60?
Why?
Yeah. 60.
18 years older than your chronological age.
60?
Well, but sometimes we do see a higher age from high performance athletes who don't give enough recovery, but let's find out more about the test.
All right.
So what it suggests is that you have some sort of chronic inflammation in your body. So the way this particular test works is looking at inflammation, because we know inflammation does drive the aging process. So there are other ways to measure biological age, which could be different. But in this specific one, it does suggest something inflammatory in the body. And, you know, from your lifestyle questionnaire, and I think, quote, you call the lifestyle meat, nicotine, and gin. That could have something to do with it.
And water.
And water.
And water, sorry.
And water. Let's not leave that out. Yeah. Thank you.
But also, so I think we'll probably need to talk a little bit about that. But also, just from me listening in on the chat, I think you do have quite an underlying level of anxiety, I think it feels like. And I know actually on the questionnaire, you didn't really say that, but just from the conversation, it does sound like, you know, there is quite a level of, you know, even talking about kids and worrying about the kids and if they're okay, and having that constant level of anxiety all the time is something I think in particular that a lot of men don't acknowledge, and maybe aren't good at talking about and being holding on and not realizing how many things they have going on in their life that are actually quite stressful, and just sort of, you know, being like, oh, I chased a burglar down the street, it was no big deal, like it's fine, and you know, I'm doing this, it's fine.
To be a 4-year-old sleeping with weapons.
Yeah, that's yeah. So I think it's maybe like the good news is here that, as we always talk about on the show, biological age is completely reversible. And even by just having some really small changes within 3 to 4 months, you can see it start to change.
What kind of change in 3 to 4 months could we expect?
Yeah, because our household biological age is 137 years old.
We need to think this through.
So I think just some of the really simple things. It's not about cutting things out, but it's about maybe reducing some of the things that you do know probably aren't helping.
Sure.
So, you know, I don't need a lecture, but like the smoking, drinking, maybe try to cut it down if you're drinking once a day, even if you're not hungover.
Yeah.
We know that alcohol will produce an inflammatory effect, and it already seems like there is some inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
The other thing just to highlight, and I know you mentioned quite a lot, which is completely true, that everybody's diet is unique to them, and some people, you know, a particular diet will suit them more. But it seems that you do eat a lot of red meat, and we know that in some people that suits them fine.
Right.
But in other people, it is actually pro-inflammatory, eating a lot of red meat all the time. So it would be really interesting to see that if you did change that a little bit, that it may have an impact. But you know, some people are really good. So for example, myself, and you can get different tests done that look at this about how well your body processes different things.
Right.
So I know that you'd say you don't eat much sugar, but you eat a lot of meat. Now, some people like myself, I'm very bad at like digesting sugar. It takes a long time to get out my system, but like, triglycerides, or what we find a lot in meat, my body's very good at removing them. So for me, eating a high meat diet is like really good for my biology. But somebody else, although they, you know, were sold this one size fits all, could be actually the complete opposite.
Right.
And actually for them, eating meat, their body's like actually struggling to get rid of it. Although, you know, you think you might be doing well by reducing the carbs and things like that. So it might be interesting just to have a look at it, maybe trying to change that round a little bit and even just see if it does make a difference.
We literally have a reservation at a steak restaurant after this.
Yeah, we have to maybe we can have one more night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe this test is biased against our household.
Yeah.
Don't shoot the messenger. But what type of red meat do you eat?
Usually like nice steaks.
Yeah.
And then obviously some burgers here and there, but mostly steak.
Yeah. The other thing that did come up on the questionnaire was the ultra processed food. So
Yeah.
you did say you tend
Yeah,
to.
I blame the teenager for that because I grew up like, I really do like fast food. And as a teenager,
Yeah.
I did that. And I was actually going to do a show called Supersize This because the one movie was called Supersize Me. And he like got sick. I'm like, I'm literally doing the same diet and I look amazing. But anyways, that was my idea. So I love fast food. And with a teenager, she's like, oh, do you want to get this? And I'm like, yeah, fine, go on then. So I could cut that out easily because...
Do you think it's dangerous, Nicola, when people look really good and then it becomes easier to ignore low-lying internal inflammation? Like a teenager, for example, is always going to look good. Their skin is always going to be glowing. They're going to be fit and have lots of energy. Bobby is so into athletics that he always looks good. He has a six-pack. Like he doesn't look like he would have inflammation unless you actually search for it.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Sometimes it's really surprising for people because we've had a lot of other people on where, you know, it's like they feel like they're doing everything right or they feel okay, but something is going on underneath. And that's I guess the good thing about these types of tests is that you start to see inflammation in the body long before it ever turns into anything more sinister. So it's kind of like a really early and easy sign to be like, okay, like there's totally something that you can change now to completely reverse it and prevent it from becoming anything else. And again, going back to I think a real issue that we see with men is sometimes a lot of men kind of, I think there was some stats that came out looking at men taking up screening tests and things like that, and it was less than 40%. That, you know, and it kind of is just it's definitely more of a masculine thing, just being like, you know, buckle up, I'm okay, like I don't need to test this, or I may have had like a symptom of something, but I'm okay, I'm just gonna kind of ignore it. So I'd say it's not something to be worried about, but it's definitely something to say, actually, maybe the things I am doing might just need to be tweaked a bit.
Well, I am concerned, yes, with our small children especially.
But I also think they are the root of the problem. Like we do not sleep. You are anxious about them. But also I was thinking, how much will chronic back inflammation show up on the test and injuries like that? Because Bobby, you do have like I've
got a terrible back and
chronic back
and
thing.
a terrible knee.
Yeah. So inflammation is like what we would say is a systemic thing. So even if you've got inflammation in one part of your body, it will travel around the rest of the body. So if you do know you have something that's pro-inflammatory, it's just a really good idea to like double down on some of the other things. So I think going forward, it's really about like with, you know, 4 kids and how can you implement some things that are really easy. The first thing is, I think you'd mentioned in your questionnaire, your kind of timeout is in the sauna.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, I'll have I work out and then I'll get in the sauna afterwards. And is that not good for me?
That's amazing.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. That's amazing. So like maybe doubling down on that a bit more.
Should we get a cold plunge?
Cold plunge, cold plunge is also good. So they work in similar ways. So what happens is they put a little bit of stress on the body that causes the body to release what we call heat shock proteins, and they literally like trigger the body into repairing itself and getting rid of some of the inflammation. And some of the stats on saunas in particular are incredible. Like just by going in a sauna, I think it's about 5 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes, you can significantly lower inflammation. So even just trying to have a little bit more of that. And not only that, that's a bit more sort of downtime to just sort of relax and not have the stress of, you know, everyday life, you know, looking after the kids, which obviously you take a huge role in doing that as well. So I think that's something that's a really good practice that you're already doing that you could maybe do a bit more of.
I could do that.
How do you feel?
I feel a bit sad.
You weren't this sad when mine was 77.
I know, but this is personal.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it would be much lower than 60. So yeah, I'm kind of gonna have to find a way to get that down because I am competitive, so I'll do what it takes to get it down.
And you know, it's so funny. This is what every athlete who comes in here says. Theirs is always higher than they want because they look good and they're fit. and they're always competitive and they always want to get it down. What
Yeah.
was Jill Scott's? Was she in 60s as well?
She's in 50s, 53. Yeah. And so I think really simple things to start is just more sauna, if that's something you're already doing. So that's something that's really easy. I think I would definitely look at the diet.
Yeah.
Diet has such a big impact. Like, I can't underestimate it. And I know you hear people going on and on about diet, but I would maybe look at decreasing the meat. I know we're talking about the ultra processed foods. Again, we know there's just nothing good. They're convenient, but there's just nothing good.
I know that.
So I'm trying to cut that out. So sorry, I'm gonna stick up for Catherine on this.
Is
on this
salami
one.
and bacon bad for the baby?
Those are ultra processed foods.
Yeah.
We know that a higher intake of those type of foods has an increased risk of different diseases. Like,
It's just so weird
known.
that she likes sausage. Like, we just don't know why.
I think every British child eats sausage, though. It's like,
Yeah, it is. And these are things that are made to taste good. So a lot of the ultra processed food is made with a ratio of like carbs and fat that's made to be palatable. So for a young child, they want to just eat things that are quite easy on the palate and not like extreme taste. Whereas you have like the fruit, the vegetables, they've got quite, bitter or not palatable tastes. So I think trying to cut that out a bit, and definitely if you don't eat that many fruit and vegetables, definitely increase that.
Where do you stand on trauma therapy?
Trauma, 100%,
I want you to have trauma therapy. That's because I love you. That's
I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
I think you've been
I
strong.
need to go back to the drawing board, that's for sure.
You've been strong for long enough. Well, you're still 17 years younger than my last recorded biological age, but I'm going to compete with you on the next one. I think we just need to stop having kids.
That would help.
Would you consider testing my husband again at the end of the series?
Absolutely, because I absolutely think you're going to smash it. I can just tell.
Wheels are turning, yeah. Well, thanks for making me feel this way.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Oh, I need to hear it. I need to know.
How do you think you're going to change your life in the very immediate future? What things are you
I'm
going
going to take more time away from the kids and spend it in the sauna.
Okay.
First things first.
The body likes balance. It really does. And that again, I can just tell by your personality, you like to strive to be the best. You like to put the best into everything. And that can be challenging when it is, maybe a little bit less of the exercise and a little bit more of the you time.
Relaxing.
We're relaxing and not pushing because you're, for myself having kids, just one, that's a huge job. It's a huge amount of time. It's a huge amount of energy. And then trying to do everything else on top of it. Sometimes it's pulling back a little bit, but.
All right.
Dame Denise Lewis, Olympian, went to her own birthday party with sepsis.
Nice. Did she know she had it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think she checked herself out at the hospital.
You athletes are not well.
Wow.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you so much to my current husband, Bobby Kudstra. He's been our latest guest on What's My Age Again. In my last test, I was 77, but I'm being retested for season 2. Will pregnancy have aged me even more? Will I still be older than my other half? Follow and subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch your podcasts, and check out our socials.